how you doing? Good morning. I'm on my way to Bonhoff Lumber. Man, I had everything set, I thought, on this project where I thought I had enough lumber, and then I miscut a part. I guess I didn't label it well enough, so I gotta go get more wood. And I figured I would talk to you guys a little bit on the way. There's a few things in my mind here. I did a video yesterday where I talked about middlemen and designers and all that, because I was hit up by this guy who was, he was trying to play the middleman, blah, blah, blah. And then the woman he was trying to set me up with, she's a designer, we texted back and forth. She reached out to me, and I know that I'm on here sometimes and I'm saying things like, hey, work is slow and I could use a job, and then, it's not like I don't have opportunities. It's just that I'm picky about who I want to work for. That's all it is. And when it comes to designers, it's a problem because I mentioned it in the video yesterday. Like their thing is they want to get you for as cheap as possible. They want you to produce their design, which oftentimes is crazy. Like and then they want to mark up your work. Like that's how that's how they make extra money, or how they make money with their clients. And they don't want you to work directly with the client because they don't want you to steal any money from them. It's fine, I get it. At any rate, she reached out to me and I said to her, look, I'm probably not the guy for you, here's why. And I said all that. And so she was pretty cool about it, but she was adamant too about her thing. She's like, I want my designs made. I said, good. Hey, good luck with that. I'm just not your guy. So my point of this little part of this video is, yeah, I could say to myself, and right now I'm busy anyhow, and I'm only one guy. I can only do one thing at a time. But I could say, yeah, I could step back from... Los Angeles has just got the worst drivers, man. Sorry, you broke my train of thought here. What the hell? Yeah, I could say, oh, I need the work and just do it. And that's what a lot of people do. My dad used to tell me that all the time. Like, I'd call him, 30 years ago, and he'd be like, hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. And that's what he had to do. He had to do that because he had a wife and he had kids. And if you got a wife and you got kids, even if you get divorced, you're still responsible for those kids. So you got to do what you got to do to pull in that coin. With me, it's different. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. That's how I set my life up, which means I suffer from time to time. I might go months without any work. It doesn't mean that some work hasn't been presented to me. Sometimes it means I'm not willing to do that particular job. For whatever the reason is, 99.9% of the time it's because I don't want to do any work for the person who's asking me to do the work for them. I just don't like the person. That is just how it is, man. And I'm not going to apologize for that. So, that's just me. I'm not you, you're not me. That's just how it is. So we can move on now. I bring this up because from time to time it sucks. Because maybe there's an opportunity that pops up where if I had a little extra money, I could really get myself into something good. A lot of times there's opportunities for me where, I could buy something that I know I can sell, let's say. But, and like if you want to make a decent profit on a deal like that, then, the best way to make the most amount of money is you got to spend some money. So I don't often have several $1,000s laying around to where I could just buy something. Or let's say there's another situation. Like right now, I realize I'm going to need another vehicle. That's just how it is. I'm going to need another vehicle because there is a situation happening where I live, and they're going to, it sucks. It's going to be brutal, but they're going to, yeah, Well, that's how it goes, man. Learn how to drive. It's LA, man. I'm gonna need another vehicle because they're building a new structure behind the apartment building I live in. It's crazy that they're even allowed to do it. I don't know how they get the permits for this sort of thing, to be able to even squeeze it in there. But when they do it, you know, obviously we're not going to be able to use the driveway. I'm not going to be able to park back there during that process. That's going to suck. Now, I'm fortunate in a way where I can park the van at my shop space. My shop space is a garage it's a house that I have other clients. They're like my adoptive parents. I love these people, and they let me use the garage for a workshop. That's what you see me in. That's not my house. So it's rude to wear sunglasses, but if the glare is getting me, I gotta wear them. So I could park the van there. They'd be cool with it. When I had 2 vehicles before, I did that. But that's almost 3 miles away. So every time I would need my car, I would have to do that. And the reason why I would park the van there is it's a driveway with a gate, so it's protected. But right now I have off-street parking. It's in my lease. It's going to be another thing we're going to have to discuss, I suppose. But at any rate, I don't want to park this on the street. The little dings on the body around this thing, all of them came from when it was parked on the street. People are terrible drivers out here. So, and I keep stuff in this van. I don't want to leave it overnight on the street in Los Angeles. It's a Target. You get it. I don't have to explain any more than this. You understand. The other thing is when they do the construction, I looked at the plans already. Right now it's calling for a maximum of 7 feet of height underneath the structure that they're building. Well, my van is my van's like 7 feet 2 inches tall, and it's going to get a little bit taller. It's going to get an inch or so taller once I'm done dialing this thing in. So I can't fit under the new structure. So I'm going to need a new vehicle just for that reason. Yeah, it's a thing. And then, you know, there are going to be a couple spots that aren't under the structure, and the managers tell me I could probably have one of those. But really, the only spot I can park in is the spot that I have, because when the structure's in the way, I don't think I'm going to be able to turn this van around back there, because I'll hit the structure. So it's going to be a problem. And yes, I know what a bunch of you are screaming right now. You got a house in Arizona, just moved to Arizona. Of course, that is the plan, man. But things are looking like they're kind of good at the moment. Excuse me, with this thing. I don't want to talk about it too much. But if it comes through, I'll be able to afford to have both places, you know, and the YouTube is still going good. Thank you for being here. So if the YouTube keeps growing, you know, I'd like to keep the place in LA for as long as I can, is what I'm saying. And I'm not in a major rush to move to the house in Arizona. I mean, this thing with what they want to do there is a thing that, in my mind, wants to push me out of this apartment in a way. There's no doubt about that. I just don't want to be forced into it. Also, the idea of a second vehicle is not a bad idea. You know, I mean, even if I was living in Arizona, driving this van everywhere, it's a thing. Like in Los Angeles, in the city, this is the crazy thing. For those of you that don't know, every once in a while I get a stupid comment. It's just ignorance. I mean, they don't know me. They don't know the channel. They know what a all-wheel drive Astro van is. They think that's what this is, and they start accusing me of lying in my videos that I have 4x4 and all these things, because they don't know the story. They don't know that I converted it to 4x4. You know, they don't get it. But the reason I brought that up is I did convert it to 4x4. So what that means is I'm in two-wheel drive all the time, whereas the all-wheel drive, the last 3 years in particular, it's a computer thing with the all-wheel drive, and it can get stuck on. And before I swapped out my transfer case, I was stuck in all-wheel drive all the time, so I was already getting crappy fuel economy. Once I put the S10 transfer case in it, I was in two-wheel drive all the time. My fuel economy got better. However, in the city, it was never great. once I put the 32-inch tires on and I re-geared it to 410 gears, and I had my ECU, the computer in the vehicle, excuse me, re-flashed, I had it set up so that I shift now out of first gear really quick. The way it comes from the factory, you lag in first gear for a long period of time before it shifts to second gear, and so that's going to kill your city commuting. Well, ever since I did all this work, my city commuting is, I get great fuel economy. If I'm just in the city and I'm just commuting around like this little 5-mile radius every day, once a month I put gas in the thing, if that. Sometimes I go over a month or more before I have to put gas in it. It's amazing how that transformed my fuel economy. On the highway, it's not great if I'm going a long distance and I'm going up grades and I have headwinds and I'm a lead foot. But if I keep it to like 65 and under, I mean, I get really good fuel economy. And even at like 80 plus, if I'm flat and I don't have a headwind, it's really good fuel economy. But it's all about keeping that speed within the parameters of the conditions of the road that kills your fuel economy. All right, having said all that, when I'm in Arizona, the houses in this little town called Huachuca City, there's not a lot going on in Huachuca City. So you got to drive like 5 miles away, 6 miles away or more to Sierra Vista. And then you've got Tombstone, which is 25 minutes another way. You got Bisbee, which is like 30, 35 minutes, and that's up mountains. And the road speed limits are like, I think it's 65 or 75 miles an hour. I forget. I know it's at least 65. So if I'm just going to Sierra Vista, I pull out of Huachuca City, I got to go the speed limit, because everybody else is doing that, to go up to get into a city area again. But that short spurt of stepping on this thing and going that fast there and back, if you did that every day, my fuel economy is in the shitter again. So even living in Arizona, I would want another vehicle. And I'll tell you this, when I moved to Arizona, I might have 2 vehicles and a motorcycle. I'm pretty certain I'll get back on a bike when I get back to Arizona, because it's just going to be nicer, That's pennies on the dollar, right, for fuel economy. So all these things are swimming in my head. I actually just contacted somebody, and I'm not going to talk about it right now, about an older Toyota 4Runner, which doesn't have the best fuel economy. But this gets to me to another thing, and I'm just thinking out loud for you guys right now. This is the problem I have. Common sense would dictate you get a small vehicle that's really good on fuel. Absolutely. But I just like things that have height to them and capability. And I've always loved Toyotas. I'm right behind a Toyota right now. What the hell is this? I'm driving behind an FJ Cruiser. So cool, man. And those 4Runners are great, very robust. They're more off-roadable than the thing I built that I'm driving in right now. So the problem is as I started the video, like I don't always have a lot of work. I don't always have like a little nest egg. What I usually do is I work, I save money because I know I'm going to run into a time where I need the money. And it's not a lot of money. It might only be $3,000 or $5,000 or something like that, because I know I'm going to get myself into a position where I'm going to have to live on that money for a couple months, like I just had to do. So I'm back to zero again. But the one thing I have is friends. And there's been times from time to time where I might have to call in a thing and be like, hey, can I borrow a couple bucks? I'm good for it. And I always make right on it. I always pay the person back, or we work something out. And that's where I'm at right now. So it's a thing. I guess I'm just throwing this out there because, when I do put things out there with you guys, I oftentimes get some pretty interesting offers. Let's talk to that real quick. There's a bunch of you I need to contact. And I don't remember all your names, but there's one guy who reached out to me for some stickers. I don't have a lot of stickers right now, but I got to send them to you. I haven't been able to do it. I've been too busy. There's another guy that sent me a thing about the t-shirts. Dude, I'm going to totally take you up on that. I just got to get, a few $100s together for the t-shirts, and you can print them. And I've been meaning to call you. If you're watching this, send me another email. and then I'll get back to you. I have your email. I plan on calling you soon. What else? There's a bunch of them. I'll get to you guys. It's just hard, you know. You have no idea. You know, I've been talking about this lately in videos. You put yourself out there, and you attract all this attention, and people want to hear from you, and it's cool. But it really does eat into your time, your personal time. So I'm doing the best I can with that, because every night I learned a lesson from my brother when I found him in 2001. He told me he doesn't answer the phone after 8 o'clock at night. And I thought, that's a good rule. And I just adapted that. You know, so at 8 p.m. and on, that's my time. That's my mental time. That's where I'm going to do what I want. I mean, I always do what I want. Did I just say I set my life up so I do what I want? But after 8 p.m., I really don't want to engage with anybody. You know, I'm trying to detach my mind from the rigors of the day, the stresses, the conversations, the constant problem solving. I want to like feed my head maybe, or watch it. Really, the way my mind works is in the mornings is when I feed my head. That's when I get on YouTube, I watch a bunch of stuff, and then all day I'm talking to people, doing work, fitting in whatever I can, maybe making a video, usually doing what I'm doing now, where I'm multitasking. I'm on my way to get lumber, I can talk to you. Then I come home, it's catching up, phone calls, whatever, making dinner, boom, 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 and then, you know, I'm going to watch my Gutfeld every night. I'm going to watch a movie. That's usually about all I can squeeze in. That's how it works. So, come on, dude. This guy's not letting me in here. What the hell? Yesterday, when I talk about the bad driving here, it was so crazy. I leave... there's an alley that's helpful to use if you're going to go to Trader Joe's. And that alley yesterday was a total cluster. And the first thing that happened was this Asian woman parked her car in the alley and walked into Trader Joe's. I didn't know that. I'm behind her. People behind me honking their horns. There's people trying to come at me. She walks out, gets in her car. I'm like, lady, what are you doing? Then we start going. There's a FedEx truck. He's pulled to the side into a driveway to try to let people pass, but there's another parked car. There's enough room to get by, but there's 4 or 5 cars in front of me, and they're all being driven by women. I can see them. And they're so nervous about driving that they don't want it, like they're inching. I mean, at a snail's pace. I'm not kidding. It took 20 minutes for 5 vehicles in front of me to go down this spot, and I can see it from where I'm at, and I'm like, they've got 10 inches or so on each side of their car easily to get past this. Just freaking go already. But they don't have any confidence. They don't understand the vehicle. They never took the time to do that, to understand exactly where the edges of that vehicle are. I can drive this thing in places and not hit anything. That's amazing. And I pull up to the guy, and he's in the FedEx guy's just shaking his head like he can't do anything. He's stuck there. And I look at him, and we just looked and smiled at each other. I'm like, women drivers, like, I know, it's crazy. It's the craziest thing. Yesterday, I narrowly avoided 2 accidents on the way to work. The shop, which is, like I said, less than 3 miles. And then the rigmarole I went through in the afternoon, I had to go 2 days earlier. I had to get my fixins for my stew. There was no green beans anywhere. I had to go to 3 different stores to get green beans. It was ridiculous. And what I had to navigate through in this city was insane. And the funny thing is, this might have been a few days earlier, I also got an email from a guy asking me about a possible job. He says it's down near LAX. Or no, well, he said the 405 and he said the 405 and the 10 where they meet. He's like, oh, it's pretty near you. And I'm like, dude, seems like a nice guy. You might be watching. That's not near where I live, you know, like it's in the grand scheme of things, as the crow flies, you know, it's not like you're driving, you know, to Northern California or San Diego or something, but it's a good little, if I was doing the miles, it might be 10 miles or more. It's gotta be. But the funny thing is like almost anywhere else in the country, 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles, that's no big deal. You get in your car, you go there, and you're there in 15 minutes to whatever. No big deal. Here, 12 miles or so to the beach, it could take an hour. It could take 3 hours. It just depends, like, because the traffic can be so crazy here. It's insane. So what I said to him was like, hey, I'm in the middle of something, so I can't just drop that. But B, just so you understand, if I was to even go to look at that job, I have to charge you for that. And if I was to take the job, I have to charge you for my time, my commuting time. Not that that's a deal breaker. A lot of people understand that. But I just have to always put that out there for that. It's a major aggravation, but the cost of fuel alone, it's another thing that's really aggravating right now. Like, there's so much good stuff happening with the economy and the deals and everything else. There's been all these fear tactics that have been brought up by the left, and, you know, still trying to make you hate the president and everything else. But the thing is everything he said he was going to do, he's doing. He's making all these deals. He's in the Middle East right now making crazy deals. He's bringing trillions of dollars into the country for jobs. They're creating jobs. They're going to bring manufacturing back. All these good things are happening. Oil is down. The report just came out yesterday about the economy. Was it the economy? Oh no, inflation is way down. All the scare tactics coming from the experts that said we were going to go into a recession, all that's gone away now. They're all saying we're not going to go into a recession, which I knew that. The people who voted for Trump knew that. How did we know that? Well, because we saw what he did in the first term, which wasn't easy for him to do. And the economy was great. So we're in this weird spot, but here's the thing that pisses me off about living in California. It's why everybody wants to leave. It's the governor here. He's a fucking asshole. He's a moron. And he's part of this. On Gutfeld last night, there was a comedian on there, and he said this thing that not enough people say. I've said it before. I did a whole video on it. Newsom is part of this cabal. You know, there's like three, depending on who you listen to, there's 3 to 5 families that have been running California for like 100 years practically. And he's in that family. That's why he's the governor. That's why you can't believe the elections here. But the thing that's the most aggravating, right now there's places in this country where gas is $2 or under $2 even in some areas. And in California right now, for regular, you're still paying $5 a gallon. So again, if I got to drive in traffic and it can take me an hour or more because of traffic and the aggravation and everything, on top of the fuel that I'm burning at that cost, I have to charge for that time. So, and I don't like having to do that. Really, the biggest thing I don't like is my time wasted in the vehicle. I could be doing better things than driving to a freaking project. And one of the things I'm fortunate that is fortunate about where I live is it's so densely populated that I've been able to support myself within a 3-mile radius of my apartment for over 30 years. I live adjacent to a very affluent area, and it's always been working for me, and it's great. So I typically don't have to take a job that's beyond 5 miles away from where I live. 5 miles is a lot. Most of my work is all within like 2 miles of my apartment. It's been wonderful. And from time to time, when somebody's contacted me about doing a job where I've got to drive, I explain all of this to them. And I basically, you've got to, and I know this might sound kind of weird to people that don't get it. a lot of you don't live the way I live. You don't make money the way I make money. You're not, I'm not knocking you. You're better off, most of you. You have a regular job you go to every day. You can budget. You know exactly how much money you're making every week, every month. You know, it gives you a sense of security. Those are all great things. I've never been wired that way. But what ends up happening is if you want me to do a project for you where I've got to do all the things I just described, well, you know, you're paying a premium for it on top of everything else. And the thing is this is another positive about California, is that the people out here that can afford me, they understand that. So they contact me with knowing already that they're going to have to pay me a little extra even to get me to go look at the job. So all those things they work in my favor. So this is one of these videos where I'm letting you know what's kind of going on in my brain, while at the same time kind of educating you a little bit about it. Like, I had a friend years ago. He was a guy, we were both in the Marines, from, you know, brother from another mother from back home in Jersey. We went to college together. When we went to the community college, Ocean County College, and then he went off to another university, and he ended up with a degree in business. And he did a project to graduate, and he used my business for it. So he basically put together a business plan for me, because he would listen to me for years, and I would tell him all the stuff I'm going through, what it's like here with blah blah blah, and just under 27 minutes to get here. It's not a bad drive. So when he started doing the research about, you know, doing a business plan for my business, he learned. He sent me this email, and he was pretty blown away by it. He's like, dude, you're in the perfect place for what you do, because there's so much affluence around you, you know, people that can afford what you do. And he's right. My issue with not having enough work, even in the close-knit area that I'm in, is advertising. I don't do any advertising, so I'm basically a secret. That's the only issue. If more people knew about me, then I'd be a lot busier. So that's all. And when I talk about this, by the way, I'm not complaining. It's not complaining. It's not a woe is me thing. It's just a letting you know. And I do these videos, I talk to these points at different times, because so many of you are just kind human beings. You hear what I'm going through, and you have this natural thing where you want to help out, which, by the way, it's very heartwarming for me. I love that. But I'm wearing a fun shirt today. I've had this shirt for like 30 years, and I always forget that I have it. You just gotta knock the dust off of it, or wash it or something. When you hear me talk about what's going on, sometimes you think I'm really hurting, and sometimes I am. So what you'll do is you start sending me all these emails. I get emails all the time, and notes through social media. You know, part of the beginning of the video I talked about all this. And so you want to help, and that's very admirable. And like I said earlier, I'm definitely going to take some of you up on it. Thank you so much. At any rate, that's it for this video. I don't know what to call it, but I'll come up with something. I gotta select some lumber. I gotta get back to the shop and do some more milling. Unfortunately, I thought I was done with when I say milling, I buy my lumber in the rough. All right. So it might have a twist to it, might have a bow to it. I try to pick the straightest boards I can, but they're in the rough. Maybe I'll show a little bit of video of this while I'm here. You've seen enough of it. There's enough of my videos out there. So I process it myself. I cut things to rough length first. I rip them to rough width, wider than they need to be. Then I face join them on the joiner. That's flattening one side perfectly dead flat. I 90 degrees the edge. Then I put them through the bandsaw, and I need a new bandsaw blade because I resaw it. That's paralleling both sides. So I'm taking the edge I just created that's dead flat, and I'm cutting off the wavy high parts on the other side. So now it's parallel to one another. I let it sit overnight because it's going to move. But the next day I go and I put pencil lines on. I look at it and I sight it. I'm looking for the board to be doing this mostly. So whatever side has the high point to it, right? That's a side I'm going to face joint. Sometimes it's a face I did the day before, so I got to put pencil lines on so I can see how that's moving or how I'm removing material till I get it flat. Then I can plane it. After you go through that process, the board won't move anymore. So you're milling the movement out of the lumber. And that's the way you want to do anything, any piece of furniture. Because you don't want, like, let's say you're making a table. If you mill all your lumber in one day and you don't take that out of it, well, now your tabletop's going to warp. Your table's going to move. You're going to have all these issues with the piece of furniture. So to avoid that, you got to go through this process. And this process sometimes can take a week, depending on how much lumber that you're milling or the problems with the boards, whatever. So that comes at a cost. Time is money. But the end result is always going to be worth it. Because once you get these things milled to the point where they don't move anymore and everything's dead perfect, 90 degrees, edge to edge, S4S they call it, then now I could take those parts, do whatever I want to them, and I put them together and everything's going to work perfect. Like the rest of the project goes a lot easier. And when you mill your own lumber, let's say it's a tabletop, you're going to get all those boards to be exactly the same thickness because you're doing them all at the same time. So when you glue them up, if you got a glue rack like I made for myself, those boards, when they go together, there shouldn't be one higher than the other. And even if it is, it'll just be slightly, and then you can use a cabinet scraper and deal with that. But when you see people glue boards up and they're way off, you know, up to 1/8 of an inch or more, right, where they meet each other, that's a ton of sanding and everything else. That's aggravation. Why are you doing that? Take the time in the beginning to mill everything so they're all perfect and exactly the same so that later you don't have to go through all that sanding process. I hardly do any sanding because I go through the process of proper milling. That's all. Is there a bank out there? If somebody wants to be my personal bank, lend me a couple bucks, I might need it. I think I'm coming into some money though. So, knock wood here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be good.